What's going on, everybody? It's your boy C-Zar, and we are talking about Bitcoin today. BTC. Hit that like button, subscribe if you want to see more content like this, and let's get into it, my friends. So here we are, sitting at about $97.6 thousand right now. We're down a little bit today, but not by much, right? We're basically neutral right at the day's start. We moved up 2.1% yesterday. I feel like the momentum, the attitude shifted, and we really didn't do much, right? All we did, in fact, what we did was we saw a lower price yesterday than we've seen in the last week. And then all we did was we closed higher too. So there's a real volatile shift in yesterday, but we didn't really go anywhere. So I don't know. People seem to be emotional, man. If we look at the coin market cap, we look at the fear and greed index, we are coming up a little bit, which is good, right? Anytime that we've been in this fearful area where things get orange down here, we're at the lows in Bitcoin and we start to move up, right? As we phase out of that, we get orange here, we're at a low in Bitcoin, started to move up there. You can see both in the fear and greed index and in Bitcoin's price, and it's that same way every single time. So here we are now in the orange at the 35, coming out of it now as Bitcoin's coming up to, while it's at its relative lows. I very much do believe we're at a turning point right now. I very much do believe that Bitcoin is on its way higher, and not just higher relatively speaking, but higher as in like to new all-time highs. So the next step, the next phase in the cycle, right? Where we're going to go, we're at about 97.6K right now. I think where we're going to go in a very, very short amount of time, by the end of this month of February, would be to about anywhere from $122,000 to about $130,000, right? Something in this area here, the 1618 to the 200 zone, something in that area. We could go higher. It's possible by the end of this month we could be at higher targets, but I think prices that are above 132K, 131K, that might be reserved for March. I accept that if we were to see higher targets by the end of this month than 131K, maybe 137K comes on the table. But personally, I am thinking, 122 to 131 is where we're going to stop. Okay, we're at 97.6K now, and the reason why I'm excited, the reason why I'm considering these targets now, is because not only did we have a bullish engulfing candle, but because, and we didn't really go anywhere. But what we did on the 382 on this relative fib from the all-time high to the most recent low that we had, that very explosive tariff Monday scaries kind of low that we had there, we closed yesterday just above that 382. And generally speaking, when you close above the 382, that signals that you're done going lower and you're ready to go higher, right? Every low from here on out is going to be a higher low. Every high is going to be a higher high. Whatever the path looks like, it's pointed toward the upside, okay? 97.6, 97.7K right now. The next target area that I'm looking for is 102 to 103.4K, okay, something in this area here. Now, this is the golden ratio zone, but from this low, already we've interacted with it, okay? Generally speaking, I expect that you find resistance at the 618 to 69 when it's your first attempt, but very technically, very literally, this would be your second attempt. So I think it's more appropriate, while yes, this is your next target zone, I think it'd actually be more appropriate to consider the 786 to the 886. I think Bitcoin is going to erupt. We're at 97.6K right now. We're going to erupt to 105 to 107,000 by the end of next week. By the end of next week. It might even be by the end of this week, right? I mean, we've got, if today's Thursday, it's the beginning hours of Thursday, we have 21 hours and 10 minutes left. If today's Thursday now, we've got basically 4 hours left in this week. We might not be at $105,000 or $107,000 by the end of this week, but we could be. We could definitely be reaching for that, right? Certainly by the end of next week, I would think we're up there. And if we look at the current price, just from an opening perspective of today, if it'll let me, come on now, opening price to over here, that's a 7 to a 9% move. You guys, we've seen Bitcoin, whenever it's in peak performance, we've seen it do 10% moves in a day. We've seen it do more than that whenever it comes to the end of the cycle stuff. So I'm just saying, talking about by the end of next week, man, it could be by the end of today, it could be by the end of tomorrow, you don't know. But what I do presume to know is that 105 to 107, that's the real stopping point that we're going to come to next. I think that while we're there, either by the end of this week or by the end of next week, we'll probably pull back and find support at about $102,000 to $103,000. Checking back at our relative areas of resistance here off of this bounce, checking back at the relative golden ratio, the 61869 for support after hitting the 886, 786. It's a very common procedure to do. And then from there, building out to new all-time highs. I don't know the time frame exactly, and how I have it drawn. It actually goes past next week, right? This actually goes, I think the end of next week would be, or no, this is the end of this week. The end of next week would be would be right there. So that's actually, that encapsulates it pretty well. But I'm assuming that by the end of this month, okay, let alone by the end of next week, I'm assuming by the end of this month, we'll be reaching for targets that are around 122 to 131K, something in this area, okay? Going into and getting set up for next month in March for prices that are much higher, I truthfully believe that we're going to see targets in these deep extensions at the 3618 to the 3786, anywhere from 175 to 181K by the end of March. I think it's coming our way, you guys. If not, certainly 160, 154K, something like that at a minimum is what I would expect, okay? And it all starts now. It all starts now at 97.6K right here, okay? What I'd like to see in the very short term and the rather immediate term is I'd like to see today close green, okay? And actually on that note, while we're talking about the upside, I actually do believe that we pull back a little bit. I'm going to stop saying actually. The reason why I think we pull back is because from a low point here, connecting all these lows, we kind of round right there. From the high points there, we're rounding out. This is what you call a rounded top. It's not normally a good thing. Generally speaking, anytime you get this rounded look, it almost always brings the price down lower. When I say almost always, I mean 99% of the time. You guys, you could know nothing about technical analysis, but just understand this. If you connect your lows like this and you're getting a rounded bottom, if you connect your highs like this, you're getting a rounded top, just understand you're going to see a retracement from your low to a high. Now, thankfully, this is just on the 15-minute time frame. It's not anything significant. So I would expect well before the end of the day, probably within the next 8 hours, right? Next 4 hours even, we'll see this retracement come into play. But with rounded tops, you can absolutely, of course, see the 382 come into play, but something at the golden ratio wouldn't be off the table either, or even lower. But truthfully, I would expect something around 96.5K to 95.3K. That's the target area that I'd look for. You're at 97.4K now, already making your way down there. I expect this to be swift. I expect it to happen within either by the end of, maybe not this 4-hour candle, but by the end of the next one, if not the following one, before the day is halfway over. I expect this to come into full fruition. And then from there, once we find support, again, probably between what it was like 95.3 to 96.5K, once we find support in that area, we will begin moving higher. The goal for today is to close the day green. I would like to see today close green. And again, the reason for that is this high to low here, being right at the 382, closing above it yesterday, that's reason to believe that you would go higher. That's a good thing. Continue that reason. Give us that reason. Don't take it away. Close green today. Get above 97.8K by the end of the day. That's the goal. The daily RSI looks good. We're finding support in the same areas that we've been finding support, right? Support, support, support. Looks perfect to me. Now all we have to do is break out of this downtrend in the highs. And once we do that, once we see prices or readings above the 50, once we get above the 60, things I think will really start to turn around. We will begin to explode higher. I don't really know what else to say, guys. I feel like I'm running out of things to say. So let's look at these shorter term time frames real quick and just make sure. Yeah, rejecting the overbought, getting oversold. No doubt in my mind that you're going to go lower. A little bit lower, right? I don't think that you go lower than that low, though. Let's just see. Yeah, I think if you were going to go lower, you would have done it already, to be completely fair. 4-hour time frame, very neutral, just looking to pick a direction, which I think we will do today, right? Same thing with the price action, very neutral, just waiting for today. Crypto fears chilling. Let's look at the ribbons and we'll end this bad boy, okay? Looking at the ribbons, daily time frame. All right, so what we want to see on the ribbons is we want to see a day close above this yellow line. So closing green would be nice today, but any day that closes above about $98,500, that's a very positive look. Three-day time frame, closing green. I mean, I guess we've got a day and 22 hours left, so by the end of this week, we'd like to close above 97.6K. I think we'll do that. That's a positive look as well. And the weekly is just kicking ass. So nothing really to derive from that. So best one to derive from would be the daily time frame. I really do believe, you guys, this kind of look, when we close above this, if you thought this was fun, this move here, we saw a little, a low to a high. Let's see, in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 8 days, 9 days, we saw a 20. You guys, you realize that Monday, January 13th, to Monday, January 20th, in a week's time, about 8 days time, including the beginning day to the last day there, that's 8 days. We moved up 23%, right? I'm expecting that from this low, not from this low, but from this low, if as long as we can close above this yellow line either today or tomorrow, I would expect that we see a move that's greater than 22%. In fact, largely greater than that. 22.8%. That puts us up to 115K. I bet that within a week's time, if not a 2 weeks period, we're going to see prices that are well above 120K, maybe even upwards to 130K. This thing is very tightly wound right here. I would expect that the move would be even more so, right? And the explosion would be a good kind of representation of that. So we'll see how it goes. Very big things coming up, you guys. I think this is going to be a big either end of week or beginning and going into the end of next week. I think this next 10 days is going to be rather exciting. So that's all I got for you. Hit the like button, subscribe if you want to see more content like this. Thank you all for being here. I'll see you on the next one. Take it easy. Bye.